Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. We're going to dive into a stock play. No matter if the market is up or down, we think it's going to do really well going into 2023. So stick around and we're going to tell you all about it.
Trade Genius.
Okay, Bob, I kind of like this play after you showed me the chart. And so take it away.
Yeah, so what I want to talk about is uranium. And see, everybody, we always don't have to have doom and gloom in our videos. And this one here, you want to get a hold of some and you want to hold it over the next maybe 2 to 2.5 years, because this is not subject to the business cycle. It's really more of a secular cycle. And what we're really talking about here is uranium. And we're starting our third impulse we've had in the last 40 years. And Phil, if you want to throw that chart up so we can just see people and get a perspective here, is that we've had one here in the late 70s, early 80s. Then we had a really huge move in uranium in the beginning of 2000, and now we're really in year 3 of this uranium move. Okay, and these moves tend to go 6 to 8 years. But what's different about this one is that those first 2 bubbles that you saw in uranium were the whole world was fighting against nuclear, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
3 Mile Island, Fukushima, the anti-nuclear movements. And then now all of a sudden, everybody realizes that if you don't want fossil fuels, solar and wind aren't going to get you anywhere where you need to go. And so there's only really one choice, and that's uranium. And China has embraced it, India has embraced it, United Kingdom has embraced it, and then France just had a meeting where they re-emphasis on what they call a nuclear renaissance, where they not only are going to produce over 100% of electricity. Remember, their extra electricity, they flow into Belgium, into Netherlands, and into Germany. So when they're baseload, when they're pumping and they don't need it, they flow that electricity out of the country. And then they're going to go to hydrogen. They're going to have nuclear plants strictly for the purpose of cracking water into hydrogen for the hydrogen economy. And that has implications too that we should talk about. I did a podcast, because if you think it's going to be batteries and Tesla, you have a whole other thing coming in terms of what the future is really going to be. But back to nuclear and back to uranium, United States government just last week has approved basically a mini nuke plant. They're called citywide plants or local plants or mini reactors. United States government's first certification I think they've had in 40 or 50 years. And so now you're going to be able to put these small nuclear power plants closer to mid-sized cities, maybe away from, as you know, in the past, you need to have water, lots of cold water nearby, and that's what happened with Fukushima. They got the earthquake, got the tidal wave, tsunami, and ruined it. That's why they were going to shut down the Diablo Canyon plant in California, because it's right next to the ocean in a fault zone. But these new reactors don't require that. They're molten salt, they're pebble bed reactors. And what I mean by molten salt is they use salt basically to absorb the excess heat. And it's it literally is physically impossible for the nuclear power plant to get too hot that it'll melt through the salt, because sodium has a melting point of 800 degrees, and I don't even know what its vapor point is. I think you'd have to be on Jupiter, to reach those kind of heat and pressure. So really cool stuff. And I've been pounding table on uranium now for the past 2 years, and we're finally getting motion here and momentum. Hey Phil, I have one more thing though. Could you bring up the other slide? Yeah, so here's the other thing. The reason why on Friday a bunch of the uranium miners popped, is that people don't realize Kazakhstan mines 50% of the production of uranium around the world, and they're now forecasting a shortfall of 4 to 5 million tons pounds of uranium for next year. And for perspective, that's 5% of their production. So the world just lost basically, 2.5% of the production, and we're already at a shortage. There's already more need for a nuke plant than what's being produced. So prices are going to go much, much, much higher. And if you come trade with us, we'll show you the stocks to buy on there, because there's probably a number, unless you brought a chart up with one of your slides, Phil, but you could buy the uranium ETF.
All right, yeah, and then I think we got that URA chart worked up. So let's transition over to that, and then we'll wrap this video up. But essentially what we wanted to point out here was that, and we've shared this indicator with you guys, but the range trader has flipped here and has gone green, meaning that we're looking for a trend higher eventually to, we got a support resistance level up here at 27. And ultimately we want to try and attack this high up here around 32. And so uranium will ebb and flow with the market, but to Bob's point, the supply squeeze, we believe, is going to be the bigger story here. So yes, in the short term, we may see a pullback. If we do, I think we'll be eyeing this daily support zone here. If we were to get a pullback similar to what we saw back in September, or what Bob likes to do is leg into these trades over time, because this is a bigger long-term play where we think we're going to not only see these prior highs at 30, but we can go much, much higher. So if you guys are looking at this and looking and understand the uranium play and the supply and demand issue, kind of like Bitcoin has a fixed supply. You can think of uranium like that. And we would definitely think some of these commodity plays are really going to be beneficial, especially if you look at things like the Fed going into yield curve control eventually, kind of following what Japan's doing. You'll see some of these commodity plays skyrocket in Bitcoin and gold and this other stuff, but it's the more finite commodity plays that will really squeeze hard. So this is why this is a very bullish setup, and why we think that over time this is going to pay huge dividends for you guys in your portfolio. So check it out. Hope you guys found this video helpful, and we'll see you on the next one. Please hit like and subscribe. We always appreciate your views. Let us know your thoughts too on uranium or other commodities that you guys are looking at. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.
Trade Genius.